glad to be with you tonight as the sun sets over my shoulder out there on the beautiful bay here in Bay County, right outside Panama City. There's my ship right there, the one ready to take off. Talking SEC Media Days tonight because it's next week. Can you believe it? It's next week. That's kind of when you start getting pumped up for football. We talk football pretty much 12 months a year around here. And we love talking football. Love to have you talk with us. So come aboard and give us your comments tonight and tell us how your summer's going so far. We're hoping our guests are able to connect tonight. Just a moment, we'll have Loren Meadows joining us earlier. We're hoping to have Tony Barnhart right behind him. And I'm asking you, does SECDMA Day start your football season? How much do you get into it? My friend Shane Matthews says he didn't start thinking about it. They start playing games. And I understand that. I kind of get into it about when the SEC Media Days start because we're talking football. As Coach Spurrier says, the talking season. Well, you talking football tonight? Lots of folks are, and we'll be talking football with our friends tonight, including updating people like, well, me, who don't really understand all about there is the gaming. The EA game is taking over in some regards, especially for people under 50 years old. And so I'm going to get a little tutorial on that tonight because a guy who plays it, and by the way, I understand the ratings are just out. They rated the teams, rated the players, and we'll talk about how that works. Apparently, these ratings are something special. We'll talk about some of Florida's more controversial ones. All that coming your way shortly right here in the program, so stay tuned. We'll be joined by our guests tonight as they come in. Loren Meadows waiting in the wings in the orange and blue room, and Tony Barnhart is hopefully not detained. He'll be in Atlanta. We've got our good friends coming up as well. Peek Wilbur is always a treat, one of our most popular co-host on this show. She'll be here. We'll get her thoughts on the baby for Tim and Demi Tebow. The name, what do you think? And also, we'll have our friend Carlton Reese talking tonight about, among other things, the list of greatest quarterbacks. I talked about it all week long, trying to make the list of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in college football as collegians. I've talked about the greatest Gator quarterbacks of all time. I'd like to get your thoughts on that. And it's not that easy. I tried it all week, and it's been difficult. I'm not sure you can even do it. It's just all opinion. But nonetheless, we're going to try, and we want you to come along and play along with us. Hey, I can't believe it's Wednesday before SEC Media Days, and here we go. We're talking football like it's really going to happen, and I guess it is. I'm ready for it. Are you? Loren Meadows is ready for it. So stand by. The Buddy Martin Show is on the air. Tell your friends and neighbors to come join us.
Yes, it's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
What if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye!
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Evening. Welcome to the program. Glad to be with you. We're going to go right to the orange and blue room. I believe Loren is there, and also Tony Barnhart. Hopefully, we'll get there. Let's see, Tony, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, I can't see you. Turn your camera on, will you?
There it is, right?
I got
right
you.
there.
I got you. Your voice. I don't have your picture, but I got your voice. So let's.
Well, I'm clicking the camera and nothing's happening.
I'll be darned. Well, it ain't working, but we can go without it. We can go without it, and we can just get your voice. You want to try to hang up and try it again?
Sure.
All right, you go, and we'll try you back here in just a moment. All right, thanks. Loren, how you doing? Are you going to come back later tonight while Tony takes a break? Will you coach us? Thank you for checking in. Can you
no doubt.
Coach us up on the EA game? Well, yeah, I heard your show last night.
Oh,
no
yeah.
doubt. It was really good. And I think we're going to get Tony back here in a minute, but hopefully his camera will be on.
Yeah, no, it was the EA Sports 26 game came out, after a 10-year hiatus. They came back with the game in 2025, and to a rousing ovation. Everybody was ready to go, and it's out now. To be out officially on the 10th. Some of us that are gaming fanatics got it 2 or 3 days early, and we'll be back on to talk about it. Mr. Barnhart, a pleasure, big fan. Respect. So,
thank you kindly. I appreciate that.
Always glad to meet legends like Buddy Martin and Tony Barnhart. But a lot of interesting things going on with the game. There is the transfer portal. They've enhanced that. There's no NIL. I don't think they want to touch that. They're paying the players enough. They doubled what the players are getting paid. So we'll be back later to talk about that later on the show, and I'll let you guys have at it.
Appreciate that. I know Tony's up to date on it. I'm sure he can tell you about all the EA ratings. He'll tell you all about all that. In fact,
Absolutely.
I'm sure he's probably playing it tonight.
There's nobody in the media who embraces this stuff as much as I do. I promise you that.
Okay.
Hey, Tony, last time you and I played games, it was a little metal board that vibrated, and little football players ran around like.
Oh yeah, electric football. That was my stuff. Yeah, that's how I fell in love with football. There.
Yeah, I love that buzz. Those players too. Yeah. All right, Loren, come back and explain it to us, will you?
Yes, sir. We'll come back in a little while.
Great, Loren Meadows. Thank you, Loren. Appreciate it,
Loren.
Yes, sir.
Tony, my friend, how you been, buddy? It's your time of the year.
Buddy, what I can tell you, my friend, is that SEC Media Days start Monday. And we're going to start talking about football, and I'm excited. The games can't get here soon enough.
I know. You get your blood just starts pumping this time of year. I know you kind of interface with it. I can't imagine what it's going to be like without you, although I haven't been the last couple of years myself. But we'll get to that in a minute. I want to ask you straight up, since you talk to a lot of people who know this kind of stuff. Do you figure that this is going to be a sort of a coronation for Texas as in the preseason picks, and it's going to be a lot about the quarterbacks?
Yeah,
because you're going to get a chance to talk to DJ Lagway and talk to Manning and a whole bunch, and get a chance to have one-on-ones. It's going to be a lot involved in that regard. How do you feel this is going to come off at SEC Media Days?
Well, I mean, I've got Texas number one. I think they're the most talented team right now, but it's by no means a coronation. I see several teams that can win the conference championship. Georgia is certainly one. I think Florida is one if Lagway stays healthy. We talked about this. I think LSU is a dark horse. I think South Carolina is a dark horse. I think there's a lot of good. This year, buddy, is going to be just like last year. Last year in the SEC, we had a lot of good teams. No great teams, but a lot of good teams. And I think that's the case here, which means that any of those I just mentioned could win the national championship. And so that's what makes it fun.
I think the quarterbacks being as good as they are is going to change from the dynamics. I remember back when Florida got all the good quarterbacks, when the SEC got all the good quarterbacks and the coaches back when they started winning the SEC championships. I was talking to Gary Danielson one time in that year where everybody was begging for a rematch of the Big Ten teams. Of course, we know what happened when the SEC started winning them. And Gary called it after the first one. He said, I think the SEC is going to be on a long string of national champions. And
Mhm.
I said, why? I said, because they got great coaches and great quarterbacks.
Yep.
Is that going to happen again now?
Yeah, I think it's going to happen again now. And there's a lot of, well, if you look at that list of players that are being brought next week, I mean, just about everybody, there may be 2 or 3, maybe 4 teams that are not bringing a quarterback, but everybody else is bringing one because, they want to get that guy right out front. If I'm Florida, I want to get Lagway out there. I want everybody to meet this young man.
Yeah.
And with the way that he played last year. So, Buddy, you and I have talked about this. The days are gone in this conference and really in college football where you could win the game with defense, conservative offense, and the kicking game.
Yeah.
Those days are gone. If you don't have, in my opinion, if you don't have an elite quarterback, not a good quarterback, an elite quarterback, it's going to be very difficult for you to play the 3 or 4 rounds of the tournament, of the playoff. And so, I would tell folks, just look at all the quarterbacks that the SEC teams are bringing to media day. It's a pretty impressive list.
If you put up General Robert Nailon's 7 maxing for winning,
Mm-hmm.
which every coach did for many years, they all did it, all the board. They laugh at you today.
That's because General Leland said that games are not won by the winners, but lost by the losers. That was one of his classic ones, and that's not the case. They're won by the winners because they score more points.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds simple, but that's the case.
Kicking game, etc. And it's all true to a certain degree, but it's like all the conservative. That's why we had those 10-7 games in the SEC for so long, because they all coached like Nayland. Suddenly one year they found out they could score points. I'm not saying Steve Spurrier invented it, but he had a lot to do with it.
I'm saying he did. I think the league changed forever when Steve Spurrier came back to Florida in 1990.
Yeah,
he changed because back then you could average 24 points a game was plenty of points to win the conference championship. Yeah. When Coach Spurrier came, that completely changed forever.
Yeah, I love that they're bringing younger players. This is I think the youngest player Billy Napier has ever brought to SEC media days is his QB, and we all know about him. And I thought to myself, there was a day when you didn't think of bringing a freshman or a sophomore to SEC media days. Then Tebow won the Heisman as a freshman or as a sophomore, so that changed. But I'm looking now at the list they got. They got it right this time, I think. They're Florida's taking DJ Lagway, Jake Slaughter, who might be as good an offensive lineman as there is in the game, and Caleb Banks, who's going to be a first-round draft choice, is a real force. He will join Billy in Atlanta, and there are only 4 sophomores coming there. One of them is Lagway. The other ones are all quarterbacks. Sellers from South Carolina, who everybody thinks is the world's greatest thing since sliced bread, and maybe he is. Manning and Austin Simmons, a sophomore quarterback from Ole Miss, who I don't know much about. Tony, do you?
Left-hander. The question is, can he make all the throws the way that Jackson Dart could? Based on stuff that I've read, Kiffin's going to be real particular about not putting that much to be the next Jackson Dart. That's a lot of pressure. And this young man, like I said, he's a left-hander, pretty good player, but we'll see.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you this question, and I'm going to bring on Peek Wilbur to join us too. You've got 16 teams in a boat, and you only got 2 room for 4. Who are your first ones you're going to toss out? You make your decision. What's it going to be? I mean, look, Georgia's got a heck of a good run. Going to have a good. They always have, but some say Georgia hadn't had the parts lately, and they obviously the wide receivers being now the QB is different, and by the way, Gunner's getting a lot of good comments from Kirby, talking about like he's basically as good a quarterback as he's had. Anyway, talking about let's bring Allen in here and let's start tossing teams out that we think don't have a chance and see how many we can get to real fast. It's going to take a minute. There's
Hey,
Allie
guys.
right there. Hey, Allie, how you doing? This is
Good. How
Allie.
are you?
Yeah, you hear what we said about that?
No,
Yes.
tell me what you were saying something about tossing out teams that don't have a chance.
Yeah, we're going to have to eliminate, let's say, 12 teams in a hurry.
Yeah.
And we got them all in the boat. We got 16. We only got room for 12. Who are the first ones we start throwing out? I mean, I'll throw out a couple: Mississippi State and Vanderbilt and probably Missouri, although some people like it. So you guys tell me, who do we throw out?
I like Diego, so I don't know if the first 4 out is Vanderbilt for me. I don't think they, win anything substantial, but I think he's decent. I throw Mississippi State out for sure.
But they gotta be able to win it. Remember, not just because you like them.
Well, right, I get that, but as we're process of elimination, if we're only taking 4 out, then
no, we're taking
we're taking 12 out. Okay,
we're taking 12 out. Start tossing them.
So Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Missouri. I say Texas A&M would be out for me. I know a lot of people would probably disagree with that. Arkansas. I don't think Kentucky. I mean, I think South Carolina will have a decent year for South Carolina, but they're not winning anything.
I agree.
I mean, I feel like it's easier to say the teams that would stick around than it is to do it.
Well, I mean, I throw Tennessee out. Ole Miss I throw out.
Yeah.
So now we're getting down to the ones we think that really are. As I asked Tony a minute ago, is SEC Media Day is going to be a coronation for Texas? I read the other day that they've got Manning has a big advantage this year because he's got 7 preseason All-Americans at Texas. They're loaded. The question is, can he do it?
Well, they've recruited really well the last several years. So, I mean, on paper, they are the most talented team, but he doesn't have the experience yet. And, we'll kind of see. He gets a little baptism by fire. Yeah. I think Georgia is never somebody you count out. I don't think that Alabama is anybody you count out. I don't think Florida's running the table, but I think the way Florida's schedule sets up, they absolutely could make a playoff. And if you could make a playoff, then who knows what could happen from there.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got these quarterbacks.
The SEC championship game, then it's going to be to make the playoffs.
Yep.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
That's right.
All right. So we got these 4 quarterbacks. I know, Tony, you'll be anxious to talk to some, or, we all are going to hear from them. I'm fascinated by what Manning might do and say. He's got everything in the world going for him. He's got a ton of pressure. I've been reading a lot of stuff lately about him, where where his uncles, Peyton included, are saying, "Wait a minute, he has athletic heritage, but not from us." And Cooper saying, "Well, they weren't around that. Eli and Peyton were not around him that much growing up. They didn't influence him." They talk about his mother as an athlete. I think we discussed this before. What a great Tony! She was a great track star. She was fast. He gets his wheels from her, obviously. So I can't wait to see this guy. Can he possibly deliver on all that's expected of him, Tony?
Well, first of all, this idea about pressure, it's not pressure. He's not. He's going to be fine. First of all, he gets his athleticism not from his uncles and not from his mother, but from his grandfather. Those of us, buddy, who are old enough who have seen Peyton Manning play, Archie Manning play.
Great.
I was in Athens in 1970 when he came to Athens and had a big game against Georgia. I think he's going to have a great year. Now, is he going to win the Heisman Trophy? I don't know. We're sitting here in July. We don't know what's going to happen. And by the way, Texas has got to go to Athens. Just thought I'd mention that.
That's amazing. And the thing about this guy, Archie, I know your young guys are saying, "Oh, get off of the old time," or whatever. Think about what he did. He came home and found his father dead, committed suicide.
Yep.
And didn't even call his mother and cleaned up the whole mess first because he didn't want her to see it. You know, he held that family together. This is why he's in college.
Wow.
You know, and to raise the kind of young men that he raised, to be the godfather of football. I mean, there is no bigger name in college football than Manning. There's none bigger.
Yep.
And they
That's
keep
right.
giving it back. So I got to root for the kid.
Mhm.
I think I know, Allie, you're a great one for legacies. Your family, you got stuff all behind you there of your family, your grandfather, your father, your uncle, your brother, your cousins. Probably you have an aunt that played football. You probably do. And I know
No,
you.
I have an aunt that's in the Swimming Hall of Fame.
Well, there you go. See, you got
Excellent.
athletes all around you. Got good. So I think you can't help but root for families, can you, Allie?
Oh, yeah. No, I think not only can you not help but root for families, but I think Arch Manning playing for Texas is a little bit of nostalgia for all of us back to a time when we knew more about these players' individual stories, and that influenced our fandom. I think NIL has changed a little bit in how we root for players and look at players. And I think that the Arch story, though, lets us go back to our roots. It makes me think about 12-year-old me who knew everything about Peyton Manning when he played for Tennessee and, you know, his family then, and that Danny Werfel's dad was a preacher and that so was Steve Spurrier's dad and how that connected them. And
Ray Graves' dad, too, by the way, was
and those
also.
are the things that make us fall in love with college football, right? And I think that Arch Manning kind of gives us all this little like warm and fuzzy feeling about maybe days gone by for college football.
She's right, Tony. She's right. And thank goodness for her. And will there be others like her, hopefully. All right. So what do you want to know? I'm going to ask you guys about these 4 quarters. By the way, we have now reached the largest audience by 5 times that we've ever had on this program. Tonight, right now, okay?
Congratulations.
23,000 people are now watching us live. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. That's Brendan Martin's work. Thank you, Brendan. And thank all of you. Hope you'll come back. I'm Buddy Martin. I'm the old guy. Tony's the next oldest guy. Tony Barnhart, Mr. College Football, much younger than me. And, of course, the young, intelligent, beautiful person here is Peek Wilbur, one of the great, great family names. Both Peek and Wilbur, and she's a mother of 4 girls. So, they're all going to be probably Olympians before it's over. Huh. Right, so let me get you to the weigh in now of these 4 quarterbacks. All right. I mean, first of all, the spotlight next week is going to be on Lagway and Manning and Nussmeier, probably, I would imagine. What would you think will be the most asked question? Or tell me the one you think that would be the most discussed. I would say probably Manning. What do you think, Allie? Which
Manning will probably be the overall athlete discussed most. I think we're going to hear a lot of questions towards Lagway about his injury, which I think is honestly super smart for Napier to send him to media days. 1, he's really well spoken. 2, he's the leader of this team. 3, it just kind of puts it on out there and he can address it and hopefully put it to bed. You know, if they don't send him, then lots of people are asking his teammates about his health and they kind of ho-hum around the answer because it's not their injury. It's not their body. So I think that this was actually like, you know me, I don't generally rave about Napier's media skills, but I think this was a super smart decision and it will kind of nip this in the bud. But I bet we hear that question a lot.
100% best movies made for sure. Tony, what about you? Which quarterback gets your interest? What do you want to know from, if I could say, all right, here's 2 quarterbacks, you can ask them both a question tonight. Which 2 would you like to ask and what would it be?
Well, I want to talk to Garrett Nussmeier. I think this guy he has an NFL arm for everybody I've spoken to. Obviously grew up in the family business. Doug Nussmeier did a tour at Florida. I remember sitting in his office down there, and he passed for 4,000 yards last year, guys. 4,000. Think about that. 4,000 yards, and on a good offense. And now he's going to have an even better offense. This is going to well, first of all, this is going to be the best roster that Brian Kelly has had since he's been there, and so I think that will be a lot of fun to watch. Norris at South Carolina intrigues me because he's faster than you think he is. He's bigger than you think he is. And down the stretch last year, he was playing as well as anybody in the country. If he plays that well, they're going to beat some people they're not supposed to beat.
Yeah.
You think Sellers actually got offered all that money to leave, Tony?
What's that?
He allegedly got offered a bunch of money to leave, like I don't know, $8 million or something. Are you believing
God
that
bless
stuff?
him. So, but he decided to come back and see what South Carolina had a lot of fun at the end of last year. They were playing really, really well. Yeah. So that's going to be an interesting part of media days.
Let me jump down here ahead of my schedule and do this while I've got Tony before he has to go. And I want to get to the thing that happened with me last week when somebody sent me a list and said, can you name the greatest quarterbacks of all time? And I thought, who's going to be able to do that in college? Who are the greatest college quarterbacks of all time? And I thought, well, whoever does it has to be somebody who's seen a play, right, Tony?
Yeah, that would help.
That would be guys like you and me, Tony, have to weigh in on this.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I took their lists. I'll read it to you. You all can pick one out, knock one off, whatever. I threw some together. I didn't really make a 1 through 10, but I did do some picking, and I got some to go on the list. Here's their list. I'll tell you about it later. 10 was Dan Marino. 9 was Vinny Testaverde. 8 was Andrew Luck. 7 was Sam Bradford. 6 was Johnny Manziel. And now 5 was Michael Vick. 4 was Tim Tebow. 3 was Cam Newton. 2 was Trevor Lawrence. 1 was Joe Burrow. Tony.
Like him or not, Michael Vick's one of the greatest quarterbacks I've ever seen. I was there in the Sugar Bowl when they played Florida State for the national championship. And when it was over, I ran into Grant Taft, the former coach at Baylor. I said, Coach, what'd you think of Michael Vick? He said, I tell you what, I've been to 15 county fairs and 4 calf ropings, and that's the most incredible thing I've ever seen. He was just the combination of speed and power and the ability to throw. He was a marvelous player.
All right. Go ahead. You got another one, Tony? Yes
No,
or no?
that's good. I'll stick with that one.
You want to take off of there, Tony?
No, that's good. That's good.
Allie, I got a couple I want to take off. Go ahead.
I mean, I want to add on Danny Warfel.
Okay.
I think he was incredible as a college athlete. Now, obviously, didn't translate into the pros in the same way, but he was a really, really talented college quarterback. I think Rex Grossman is one of the most talented guys that never won a Heisman that I've seen. And I mean, some of these guys I wasn't alive to see or was very young and don't remember. But I mean, those are just 2 Gator quarterbacks off the top of my head that had incredible college careers.
To your point, Allie, it's very important to remember that just because a guy was a great pro doesn't mean he was a great college player.
Yeah.
I give you Dan Marino.
Mm-hmm.
I saw his Pitt team play against SMU in the Cotton Bowl. They didn't throw Tony but about 10 passes a game. I think I actually looked up. I think twice he had 2,000 yards or more in college. Right? Not because he couldn't. His coach didn't call it. He was he was a really good college quarterback. He was a great pro. So there's one right there. Then you talk about, we're going to get a whole different kettle of fish from people when they pick their quarterbacks. I would say it's a list that's got to include Danny Werfel on it for sure, and several others that I would put in there and then throw them in there. But here's the other one. You mentioned the Gator quarterbacks, and it's hard enough to pick the Gator quarterbacks. You pick I've got my list, and mine are 1 Tebow, 2 Werfel, 3 Matthews. Shane Matthews started it all. 4 Spurrier, who, by the way, until he came along, they couldn't beat anybody to speak of. Reese, John Reese was a hell of a quarterback, really a great player. Rex Grossman, you mentioned. Kerwin Bell, my gosh, look what he did. Chris Leak, still the all-time leading passer in Florida.
Throws the prettiest ball until DJ Lagway.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Kyle Trask, who set all kind of records, and I put a tie. I got Wayne Peace, Jesse Palmer, and Doug Johnson. That's my list. That's a pretty good list of quarterbacks right there, I'd say.
Yeah.
So, anybody else I'm forgetting about on that Gator list?
I don't think on that Gator list.
I will say this: if we mention Archie Manning.
Well, I have him on my other list. Archie's one of my. Next time you think I got him listed, I got about a half a dozen other players, quarterbacks, and I don't have the list in front of me. And Arch was on my list. I said Manning, and not the one you think. Archie was a great player. He really was.
Well, Archie Manning was a Peyton Manning with speed and more power.
Yeah,
much more power.
His granddaddy is going to. I think that Archie's going to see himself some in the kid who's playing for Texas right now. No doubt about that.
I don't think Steve Sarkisian will run that sprint out pass offense like they did for Archie back in the day.
No,
but
for sure.
They built, but John Vaught built the entire offense around what Archie Manning could do.
Right.
And they put him out on the corner, and he'd either pass it or he'd run it. If he passed it, he was incredibly accurate. If he ran it, it's hard to get him down.
Great stuff, Tony. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Tony Barnhart, tell folks they can read you, buddy.
Well, we're getting ready to start cranking it up. I'm hoping to have some news soon. We're going to change kind of where our landing spot. And I'll have some news about that hopefully coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll get you next week or not. You'll be so busy. But if you get 10 minutes in there, I'd like to talk to you while you're in Atlanta. I'm not going to make it this year, so I'll try you whatever time you got. All right, Tony. The great Tony Barnhart, Mr. College.
All right, guys. Good to see y'all.
Take care. Thank you. Very good.
Good night, Tony.
Thank you. All right, Allie, we're going to join. Have you been doing anything about the EA game at all?
Not a ton. I am not a big video gamer, but I will tell you my 15-year-old nephew who we adopted is in his bedroom playing it at this very moment.
Yeah. Well, our youngster is Loren Meadows. He's been playing for 3 days. Now, I don't know anything about it other than the fact that, do you know about how they get assigned scores and all that the team does, players do?
Not a whole lot, but yes, I do know that they have like a points value to them, and sometimes players are offended at what their score is, and sometimes they're excited about their score, like the actual players when the game comes out. But I don't know a ton about the process for how they score them.
Yeah, I'm gonna come back here in a minute and get Loren, and first I'm gonna tell you about our sponsor, Meldon Law, and come back and get Loren. We're going to learn a little bit about learning how to play the EA game.
Okay.
Loren Meadows is going to teach us. And by the way, speaking of teaching you, let me teach you this lesson. If you need any help from an attorney, a new attorney, you have an old case you'd like to be reviewed, got just the person for you. The integrity they have, the great work they do, the fact that they're Gators, if you're a Gator, matters. And Meldon Law, everybody knows they mean it when they say they won't back down. Right now, Jeffrey is globe-trotting across the globe. He's going to be gone for something like 7 weeks to all points, west or east, or however you get to Asia and Europe, whatever. He's going to have a great time, and they have many stories to tell when he gets back. In fact, we'll probably have him on the show while he's over there somewhere on a cruise ship. Jeffrey Meldon is living the good life, and he does a great job. He and his son and his family at Meldon Law. 4 locations to serve you: Ocala, Gainesville, Lake City, and Williston. Meldon Law, they won't back down. All right, let's get our gamer face on and see if we can get going here. And here's a guy who's going to explain to us what these ratings mean. He plays it. Coach
I
Loren,
do.
what's
I do.
up, yeah.
How you doing? Good to see you, Allie.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, nice to meet you in the flesh. Big fan of your work. Keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much.
You need to have me on too. You need a guest, let me know. I'm
All
always
right, I will.
Like he's begging already to be on the show. Didn't take you 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Begging.
But so great conversation before. I would agree with most of those quarterbacks, buddy. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people overlook the contributions of Danny Werfel to the game, not just helping the Gators win their first national title, but just in revolutionizing the game as a whole. The game was still kind of plug and mud in a lot of ways. Obviously, Coach Spurrier was doing it, but Danny Werfel really, I mean, was able to really just bring everybody along, and his performance, not only the last game against Florida State where he kept getting up and taking shots, but the adjustment, what people realize is, Spurrier didn't use the shotgun much. And then for Werfel to be able to make that adjustment in 2 to 3 weeks and be ready for Florida State speaks to a lot of that too, because a lot of it is catching the ball, getting the strings, and putting your foot in the ground, letting it ride. And I think, against a defense like that with Raynard Wilson and Michael Boulware and those guys, to be able to hang a 50 spot, I mean, you can't ignore that for sure.
I got to stick this personal note in there because I had come from a background of watching John Elway learn how to run a shotgun. He never did it in his life. And I saw what Dan Reese did to him. When I started covering Florida, I had many conversations with Coach Spurrier. I wouldn't say I begged him to try the shotgun, but I brought it up a lot of times. And he just wasn't going to do it. And finally, after that, you're right, after the FSU game, he decided. Because I'd seen Elway do it, and he seemed like he got more time, that way, to get more reads. And so finally he ran it, and like you said, a huge success. And that turned out to be a great moment for getting. Let's get to the game called EA Sports. By the way,
sir.
Shout out to, although he didn't win it, Ben Shelton. He made it to the semifinals. Got beat today by Yannick Center 7-6, 6-4, 6-4. And 3 says he'll be back. Great Wimbledon for him. All right. Player EA rankings. All right. Now here's what I got. Quarterbacks. DJ Lagway is the 11th rated quarterback in the country, behind Cade Klubnik, John Mateer from Oklahoma, Garrett Nussmeier from LSU, Drew Aller, Penn State, Lenore Sellers, South Carolina, Arch Manning, Texas, Blake Horvath, Navy, and Carson Beck, Miami, and Kevin Jennings, SMU. Loren, I got a question now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you just look at production and, 1 year against the level of talent that he was able to perform at, you go back to the LSU game, you go back to the Ole Miss game, you even go back to the Georgia game before he got hurt. I mean, basically, he's undefeated as a starter. So, any game that he started and finished, the Gators won. So, I mean, I could see him being a 90 because I think what EA was trying to do was they wanted to make sure that they didn't have these superhuman players. Like last year, they had Quinshon Judkins so good when it first started, they had to actually release a patch because if you hit a spin move with Quinshon Judkins, you couldn't tackle him. So, so I think they were real careful to make sure that they didn't rate the players too high. I mean, Lagway being a 90, I've played with him on the game. He's pretty good. He's tough to bring down. And, but yeah, I mean, some of those guys like Blake Horvath, even Lenore Sellers, I think a lot of people get caught up. You heard Mr. Barnhart talking about a guy like Michael Vick. I think they like that kind of thing. And Lagway has yet to really show what he can do with his legs. They've yet to really unleash that. So I think with Sellers, it's more of a hype train. Not to say that Sellers isn't great, but, they got those guys listed. But I think it was just carefully planned out to make sure that they didn't give anybody too much. The only guy that's really unbelievable is Jeremiah Smith. And, with receivers on the game, you got to know how to use them and things to take them away. But, I think what EA is able to do now with the technology and the AI, as the season goes, they actually send in patches that change the ratings. So I think that's what's most interesting about the versions of the game the last 2 years is now you have the sliding scale as guys transfer, get hurt for the season. Like last year on the game, if you picked Florida after Mertz got hurt, they had already inserted DJ Lagway onto the roster. So you'll see those ratings change. Jake Slaughter is the highest rated, player on the game at a 92. And, for a center to be rated that high is pretty good. I would probably maybe gave him a 95 or so and really made him unbelievable. But, I think what EA is trying to do is try to make the game as realistic as they can. So they have to give some guys some flaws and things like that. And where a lot of guys lose, we were talking about the linebackers last year, is there's a ranking called awareness. And that's what really can drive your rating, is the awareness sometimes is not where it is. And that means they might jump off sides, be in the wrong position. But obviously, if you're good on the sticks, that changes. But definitely a lot of excitement for the game. Second year in a row. Like I mentioned before, I think the players got paid $700 last year. They're getting $1,400 this year. And, it just allows them to expand their brand. And, one interesting factor we talked about on the show last night is Asa Turner is actually in the game and is a starter. And
but he's not in Florida.
But he's not in Florida. Well, he's at Florida, but he's not playing. He's not on the roster, right? So maybe, kudos and kudos to Florida. Maybe that was an opportunity that Napier and the team felt and his staff felt to put a little money in his pocket, give him some visibility. Yeah. I heard he may want to get into coaching. I've heard GA, volunteer assistant coach, things like that. And from what I understand of the young man, that'd be a good move for him, particularly if he's physically unable to play.
I'm going to be rude, and that's good stuff. But I got to tell you, right now we got 29,198 people on here live. I would say 29,000 of them have no idea what you're talking about.
You'd be surprised.
Well,
You'd be surprised,
buddy. I'll get some comments, but if you do. And I want to bring in also our buddy Carlton Reese in just a second. Let's talk about great quarterbacks. You talk about that list. All right. Are you overwhelmed, Allie?
I mean, that was a lot of information, but I don't know nearly enough about this game. Clearly, I need to go knock on my nephew's door right now and ask him to teach me, because it is super interesting. And it's funny you brought up Asa Turner. My brother talked to him on the phone for an hour this week because he might be interested in getting into real estate, and Gator made that connection, which I kind of think is so cool that they're always like figuring out ways to connect former players with current ones and align their interests.
Let me add a couple of highlights here that I've got. This stuff today, I went through the list. Running backs, they got Jaden Ball way too low. They got him an 18th best in the SEC. Are you kidding me? And he'd be fourth string at Texas and Texas A&M, according to this game. Then Eugene Wilson is in as the number 6 receiver with a 90 overall rating. I don't know if that's good or not. Tank Hawkins, 97 overall speed, makes him tied for second fastest receiver with Aiden Mizell. Left tackle, Austin Barber checks in with 89. The 8th best left tackle. I won't go to all of them. Then linebacker, that's where, Loren, you got to explain to me. They have an outstanding linebacker room. You got Miles Graham and the whole bunch of those guys. You got Pup Howard, and yet they said there's 63 linebackers in the country, higher rated than Florida's best will linebacker, Miles Graham, and 16 in the SEC rated higher than the Gator Legacy. 21 SEC linebackers come in higher than Aaron Childs. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, I think that, once again, we talk about, I think a lot of that is the youth. And once again, just the guys, I mean, they've had a ton of snaps, but they're young. And I would venture to say that awareness rating is where things are. But Allie, you know this, you like the X and O's like I do as well. The one place that the Gator linebackers suffer sometime is in pass coverage. That's kind of been a mark that they talk about. And even from playing the game, that's where guys like Pup, Miles, Jaden Robinson on the game, the linebackers kind of leave a little bit more to be desired in pass coverage. Now, not to say they won't be good at it, but once again, like I said, as the game improves and as the game goes along, and let's say they go put foot in LSU, then they put foot in Miami, those rankings are going to start to rise on the game and things like that. So I think it's, for Grayson Howard to be an 82, he probably could have been about an 85. Jaden Robinson with his performance, and those little nuances do help. But yeah, I think it's right now. I think it speaks to, and Ali spoke to it a little bit too. It's just the wait and see with Florida. I think being ninth rated to anywhere between 9th and 11th. I think they're 11th on the game, which means that people have some respect for the roster. It's the best roster Napier's ever had, but it's still wait and see. And the schedule is daunting, and there's some tough tasks early, and they got to pass those tests to really prove that this program is where it needs to be. So I think that's where it is. It's just the skepticism as a whole with this Florida program, because, we got to admit it, guys. We think they're going to be pretty good, but we could also be looking at a 2-2 program with losses at LSU and at Miami, and we'll be having a different conversation here in about 90 days.
Couldn't tell. Let's bring
conversation we were having 4 games into the season last year.
Exactly. Let's bring in Carlton Reese, and let me remind the 30,000 people watching online right now, that's what it is, that I'm Buddy Martin. I'm the host of this show. Peek Wilbur is usually our guest co-host on Wednesday nights when she hadn't got softball or something going on with the girls. Coach Loren Meadows is normally on Thursday night with us, and he, of course, has his own show, Lodo Sports with Loren on Tuesday. And then, of course, Carlton Reese, he's the editor of the Ocala. He's a columnist for Gator Bay. Welcome in, Carlton.
Hey, buddy. Hey, guys.
How you doing, Carlton?
Great.
You got your first game of EA Sports in now? You already played it?
I was wondering about these rankings, EA. That no, I'm not into that at all. But if you're complaining about players being rated low and that, all those things are based on what they've seen. They're rating players from a team that was 8-5 last year. They're not ranking them based on what they could be. They're ranking them based on what they think they can create a video game team that's going to be 8-5 again. That's kind of how I see it.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Let me hit you guys up with a couple of things off that topic and get back to the greatest Gator quarterback, which Carlton knows something about. How about Tim and Demi have a baby girl? All right. Congratulations. Yeah. I thought sure they'd name it Teresa Tebow after Mother Teresa, but they didn't. Daphne Rain, Reign. What do you guys think?
She was born on my wife's birthday. I know that. So.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good handle. Yeah. Daphne Rain. Yeah, unique. I mean, it probably has some – she's from South Africa, correct? Is that right? Correct. So maybe – that could be kind of some influence there as well. Good for Tim.
I read that Daphne was her grandmother's sister's name. Who,
there you go. Okay.
Acted like a grandmother to her because her grandmother had passed away, and so she had always loved that name and wanted, since she was a little girl, and wanted to name it after her great aunt. And Rain is a Christian religious nod, is what I read.
I thought about that. I thought about the Tebow Reigns. I was thinking about Tebow Reigns.
So many guys from the 06 and 08 team are girl dads, which it just consistently makes me chuckle. We always tell Eric that he's a 4-time girl dad because that's his penance for how he behaved in college. But the amount of them, Billy Latsko has 4 daughters. Chris Hetland has a daughter. Jeff Whitaker has a daughter.
Chris Leak has, I think, 2 daughters. Yeah.
He has 2 daughters.
Carlton Reese has 4 daughters.
Just so many guys from those teams have daughters, and I just love the girl dadness.
Yeah. Know about those girl dads. Love them to death. I love them. My granddaughters, they're all here. All right, so here's the deal. Here's a little bragging rights. It's pretty good. I know we all love Walter Clayton Jr. I love what he did. We love the basketball program. We love what happened. He's been named the SEC Male Athlete of the Year. That's pretty cool. This is the 14th time a Gator athlete has been named. Can you guys name any others?
14 times. Okay.
Anna Hall just a few years back, right?
Male.
Male. Oh. Well,
Martin Zubero.
Tim Tebow twice.
Yeah.
Remember I said 14 times. I didn't say 14 different.
So I'd say Tim Tebow twice.
right?
Ryan Lochte.
Yeah, I don't have them all. Ryan Lochte's one.
Ryan Lochte's probably one of them.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I don't have the whole list. But I just
Joakim Noah or one of those guys.
I don't have that on. Danny Werfel.
Werfel,
two.
Werfel makes sense. What about Grant Holloway?
Grant Holloway is maybe.
Yeah, good. There you go. Yeah.
Now there's probably others I've left off. Those are the ones I can get. So congratulations to Walter Clayton and the great start they had as well. Okay, in a matter of now 10 minutes, let's settle the issue on the great quarterbacks in Florida and why. Okay. I'm going to make a case for mine. I'm going to give you one that probably wouldn't be as high up on most lists. I'm going to tell you why. And I've got them not necessarily ranked in order, but kind of. Steve Spurrier. You have to go back and remember how bad Florida was when they couldn't beat anybody. And going to a bowl game was a victory, was a great year. Until he came along as a player, they started challenging for the SEC championship. Florida was not, didn't have much to go on. His play, he was terrific. He was a good passer, not a great passer, tremendous field general. He practically ran the offense and designed it while he was there. He did sort of draw plays in the sand. And he was just a great fourth quarter quarterback. He was known for his comebacks. I don't know. You probably know a little about that. I would imagine, Carlton. Spurrier is a player. And the reason I bring it up, when I was doing a story on Spurrier about 7 or 8 years ago as a coach, asking people about him as a coach, Lee McGriff, who played with him at the Bandits and coached with him some, said to me, I think he's a great coach, but I think Steve Spurrier is a great quarterback. It's not a name you see thrown in there. So I've got him on my fourth on my list. And the guy I got ahead of him third is the guy who started it all in Shane Matthews. So my list is Tebow, Werfel, Matthews, Spurrier, Reese, Grossman, etc. That's what mine goes like.
So what's the criteria, though? Like, what is the criteria that we're using? Do you need to have won a championship?
No,
if you win something like a Heisman, does that help you?
No,
what are your factors?
Your list is very.
I think it's just getting to it, man.
It's your list.
Just getting to it.
You've seen these guys, what do you think? I mean,
Shane is the forgotten guy, and that's my man, and that's my dude, and I love Shane. But people forget Shane was a baller. I mean, and he did. He started all. He was tough. He threw to some amazing guys. But just like Werfel, the ball was on the money. It was where it needed to be. And I think when people go through the list, they talk about the Werfels, the Tebows, the Leaks, the Trask. And that name is always forgotten, and he's sitting right there in Gainesville. But I think I agree with that, at least that top four, buddy. I mean, and you could flip-flop, Spurrier and Shane, but a list that does not have Shane on it is, I mean, he's in the top 5 for sure. I mean, no doubt.
Carlton?
Well, I think if you look at resumes, it's far and away Tebow. The yards he passed for, the yards he rushed for, the amount of TDs. He won a Heisman. He won 2 national championships. He won the Heisman in their worst season of his career. And his senior year, they're undefeated. He led them to an undefeated record before losing in the SEC championship when Carlos Dunlap was suspended, and that really hurt them. So it's hard to look past. I think Tebow's the obvious choice, and you got to look at number 2. I think talent-wise, Rex Grossman was someone that I thought, man, I thought he was going to be a stellar professional. I wouldn't want to overlook Chris Leak. I look at a lot of Chris Leak highlights too over the years, and I just love the way he threw the ball, and he won some games.
You won a national title at Florida. You've got to be in that top 5. I feel like that's such an elite class.
Right. The only thing he misses at those others, like Spurrier and Tebow or Werfel, they won a Heisman Trophy. Leak won a national championship, put up some great numbers, and even the years that they didn't win the national championship. He beat some pretty good teams when they were big underdogs.
The country, LSU on the road in the
the
rain.
LSU and Arkansas wins on the road that year were unbelievable. No one saw that coming.
Got about 3 minutes. I'm going to give each of you one of those, and you give me your all-time greatest Gator quarterbacks, 1, 2, and 3. Or if you want to shift to another position, do that. Let's get this issue settled tonight. I gave you mine. I told you what mine were. I'm not going to go beyond 3 because it gets hard. Top 3, Loren.
Top 3 would be Tebow, Werfel, and I'm going to probably go Shane Matthews.
Okay. Carlton.
I'll go Tebow, Spurrier, Werfel. I think if Spurrier had played later, he would have put up some ridiculous numbers. But in his era, it didn't allow him.
Yeah. And his greatness was he did a lot of stuff first. All right, Allie, here's your chance.
I'm going Tebow, Werfel, Leak, the 3 that delivered national championships to us on the field. And I do think Leak is somewhat underappreciated. And I'm biased because I watched very close up what he did in that locker room. But Leak doesn't get credit enough for the type of leader that he was for that team.
But don't you have to kind of include the statues in a way?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah,
I would say the top 5 for sure are the statues. I think you could argue 1 through 5, but the statues have to be in your 5 for sure.
I think so too. The statues need to be in the 5, but it takes some intangibles to get a national title, and I think that's a factor. And like I've said on this program a million times, Chris Leak throws the prettiest ball I've ever seen until DJ Lagway came along.
As Sexy Rexy, I mean, talk about sexy.
He threw a great ball. I'll tell you what.
He threw a great ball, and like Robert Turner just said, or Toby, he should have won the Heisman over.
He should have won a Heisman. Yeah. And if 9/11 doesn't happen, he does win a Heisman.
I would agree. Very well said.
And Florida probably wins the national title. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. Definitely an SEC title, but probably a national title.
Nobody threw a prettier ball than John Reese.
I was not alive to see that, but he did live next door to me when I was growing up.
Yeah, amazing. He was amazing. He was unbelievable. I thought he should have been a great pro, but it didn't work out that way. But
I think that's, buddy, and sometimes isn't that something you talk about guys like Werfel and Grossman? I mean, Grossman started the Super Bowl. So when you look at I think sometimes people look at if you're not a Hall of Famer, but you got a guy like Grossman who has 10 plus years in the league. Werfel bounced around. I mean,
the average is like 2 years. If you make it higher than the average.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So you're talking guys with multiple pension checks. I mean, not much to be sad about.
No.
Great stuff, guys. I got to run. Appreciate it. Great job, Carlton and Reese. Colin, Alec, Peek Wilbur, Peek Inside the Gators, and Loren Meadows, Gator Bait Media, and
the Lowdown with Loren Meadows.
Lowdown with Loren Meadows. Got to get it all right. Hey, great job, guys. Appreciate it very much. Good night.
Good night.
Pleasure.
Guys.
Thank you.
Good seeing you guys.
This is the time for me to tell folks about our fine sponsors, not the least of which is what we save till last. The good folks at Titan MRI and Imaging. They are here locally to serve you in a way that we don't like to have MRIs, but when you got to have one, get the one you want when you want it. And Titan MRI and Imaging is it for you folks in North Florida. And now Titan MRI Imaging, and it used to be called Titan MRI. They acquired Highfield MRI. Joe Colorio started Highfield. He's back with them. Titan MRI Imaging has 3 locations to serve you in the Ocala-Gainesville area, soon to have 4. And stay tuned for information on that. In Gainesville, 2 locations in Gainesville, with Park Avenue location, and now the Millennium Center, also in Lake City, serving all of Columbia County, and Valdosta, Georgia. Titan MRI Imaging offers the same great customer service. You can count on them. If you need to have a nighttime appointment, you can't go in the daytime, well, they'll take care of that. And they also they accept your insurance, or you can go through their convenient self-pay options if you like. Offer MRIs, CT, CAT scans, X-rays, ultrasounds, Like I said, easy schedule with lots of options. Larger MRI machines for patient comfort. No ERs, no hospitals. Coming soon to Ocala. Titan MRI and Imaging. Check it out. You'll be glad you did. They're good folks. Thank you for all our sponsors. Thank you for our great crowd tonight. The biggest we ever had. We appreciate it. Come back and see us. We're here Monday through Thursday nights, and check out one of our other shows like SEC Sidelines in the morning with Rob Brown. Always check it out. Tomorrow night we're back here, same time, same station on the Buddy Martin Show. We'd love to have you. Good night.